right. Well, we are in the book of Proverbs. We're going to be opening God's Word together as we continue our series called The Path of Wisdom. And we've been looking together at the exhortation to walk on the path of wisdom, to choose wisdom over folly. But tonight we're going to continue to get specific in how wisdom is applied to our lives. And tonight we're going to be talking about wise speech, about the words we say and how we say them. And I don't know about you, but words have always gotten me in trouble. Screaming at the TV, playing video games, complaining about my mom's food growing up, even though it was good. Arguing with my siblings, dropping a curse word here or there, gossiping about someone or something, saying a lie when I'd get caught in sin, crossing lines in jokes, teasing, making fun of people, whatever it might be. Words have always been a vice of mine, and so from a young age, my dad had me learn Ephesians 4:29, which said, "Let no unwholesome word proceed from your mouth, but only such a word as is good for edification, according to the need of the moment, so that it may give grace to those who hear." It's a great verse. It's one that I think sets us up well for tonight. And so as we talk about words, I want to do something a little bit different. I want to talk less myself, and I want to let the Bible talk more. Because there are at least 150 verses in Proverbs that deal with speech. That's over 16% of the book. And so this is going to be a quick survey, if you will, a fire hose of Proverbs upon us. And I'll be moving pretty quick tonight. The verses will be on the screen. I'd encourage you to follow along. But I trust that the Spirit will convict us where we need to grow, that He will encourage us where we're doing well, and that He will help us to hear His words and verify them as true in our souls. And so this is a message tonight to me as much as it is to you all, because speech is a growth area for all of us. None of us are perfect. And since we all talk a lot in life, it's a big part of life, tonight I want to talk about 10 questions to develop wise speech. Any topic, any conversation, any subject, anything we say could be put through this filter to figure out if it's worth saying. And so this is our focus tonight, 10 questions to test our speech, to strengthen it, to make it wise. And we will sort of categorize this as we go through, as we look at the source of our words, the content of our words, the delivery of our words, and ultimately the impact that our words have. And so I want to start by looking at the heart, because the heart is the source of our words. It's where I want to begin. Jesus himself says multiple times in the Gospels that out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. What's inside eventually comes out. And so as we think about speech tonight, it begins with the heart, which is really the source of our words. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life." It's such a great image, the springs of life. Picture, if you would, a fresh spring. It's fresh, it's clean, it's pure. It provides life to everything that's downstream. But then if that freshwater spring gets polluted, as the water runs down, it poisons everything downstream. It leads to death. And so the heart of the person is the spring of life. Our words flow from it, and we have to start with the heart. Well, what does that look like? He keeps going in verse 24. "Put away from you crooked speech, and put devious talk far from you. Let your eyes look directly forward, and your gaze be straight before you. Ponder the path of your feet, then all your ways will be sure. Do not swerve to the right or to the left. Turn your foot away from evil." And so here we see an introduction to our first question tonight. Are my words honoring or dishonoring to God. Now remember, the heart is deceitful above all things. It is desperately wicked. And so we are really born with a polluted spring, with a poisoned well. Only Jesus Christ, who is the living water, can purify our hearts and allow us to speak words of life. And so hear me. I'm not interested tonight in behavior modification without heart change. All that matters, first and foremost, is that we've experienced the grace and forgiveness of God, that we have repented of our sins, we've embraced the finished work of Jesus on our behalf, and that we are experiencing wholeness now, purity of the springs of our heart in Jesus. But if that happens, when it happens, it should lead us to honor God with our speech. And so as we're talking about speech tonight, it's with the expectation that many of us are new creations in Christ. And so I hope my desire and your desire is to honor God with our lives, with our actions, with our speech. And so this question is really a prerequisite for the Christian. When we think about speech, are my words honoring or dishonoring to God? He says in Proverbs 9:10, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is insight. Proverbs 14:2, whoever walks in uprightness fears the Lord, but he who is devious in his ways despises him. 16:7, when a man's ways please the Lord, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. And so in our speech, we should have an orientation, as it were, toward the Lord, to please him, to honor him, to bring him glory. That's the starting point. At its most fundamental level, are my words honoring or dishonoring to God? And as we keep thinking about the heart, here's our second question. Do my words flow from humility or pride? This is a question about whether our words glorify us, lift us up, make much of us, or are our words ones of meekness, of gentleness, of humility? As many people throughout history have pointed out, we are our favorite subjects. We love to be at the center of our own story. And it's pride that kicked Adam out of paradise. Pride that cost Nebuchadnezzar and Saul their thrones. Pride that thrust Lucifer out of heaven. Many believe it's the first sin. And it's so easy, isn't it, for our speech to be laced with pride. Pride ultimately in Proverbs is the cancer of the fool. It metastasizes within us so that the fool becomes God. He's always right in his own eyes, and it leads to his destruction. There's this great insult in the Old Testament. It's this subtle burn that they love to drop, and it's when the prophets say someone is wise in their own eyes. Right? That means everyone knows you're dumb except you. Right? The only thing worse than a fool is a fool that doesn't know he's a fool, that thinks he's wise. And that's the language that we see in Proverbs. Listen to these verses about pride and humility. Proverbs 3:7. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil. Proverbs 26:12. Do you see a man who is wise in his own eyes? There is more hope for a fool than him. 25:27. It is not good to eat much honey, nor is it glorious to seek one's own glory. And one that my dad made me say many times growing up, 27:2, let another praise you and not your own mouth, a stranger and not your own lips. Do our words flow from humility or pride? The only appropriate response to God's revealed wisdom to us is to embrace that wisdom and seek the glory of God, not ourselves. And again, we're thinking about the heart, right? The source of our words. What is compelling you to talk? For some people, they talk just so they can talk about themselves. Every conversation, they're at the center. It's all about them. They always think they're right. They're extolling themselves, maximizing their accomplishments, minimizing other people. And pride leads to lots of other vices in speech that we're going to see in other ways, right? If you're prideful, when you get embarrassed, you get angry. If you're prideful, when you get caught in sin, you lie to protect your image. If you're prideful, you'll tear others down so that you can keep sitting on your high horse. Prideful people tend to be vengeful. They tend to be harsh. They can be hypocrites. And so in the moments where you and I, it can happen easily, we're tempted to speak self-promotion. Let's celebrate others. In the moments where we want to shout our praise from the rooftops, let's compliment someone else. In situations where we want to strengthen our status or elevate ourselves in some way, may God grant us the strength to celebrate the virtues of others, to be humble in our speech. The Lord wants our heart to begin by honoring Him and humbling ourselves in our words. So that's the heart, right? Then there's a second category. It's not just the heart, but it's the qualities of our speech themselves. It's our head, our mindset. It's the wisdom behind our words. And I would say these three questions focus more on what we say, about whether we should say it at all, about the content of what we have to say in our speech. So our third question, are my words true or false? The scriptures expect our words to be honest and true. Anything less is an abomination. The scriptures continually condemn falsehoods because truth is the pillar of good speech. Truth is the pillar of good speech. It's necessary. It's a reflection of God. As Charles Spurgeon once said, a lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting its shoes on. It's true. Lies carry great weight. So listen to the weight of these verses. Proverbs 8, 7 and 8. For my mouth will utter truth. Wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the words of my mouth are righteous. There's nothing twisted or crooked in them. 14:25, a truthful witness saves lives, but one who breathes out lies is deceitful. 12:22, lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but those who act faithfully are His delight. 17:4, an evildoer listens to wicked lips, and a liar gives ear to a mischievous tongue. So yes, our speech should be honest, but it also shouldn't be deceptive, right? There's a bit of a difference there. It's not always that we lie, it's just that we can be intentionally unclear, that we can manipulate. We are flatterers, deceivers, sneaky in the way that we act and behave. My son is sick right now, and so my daughter wanted to go play with the neighbors, but she knew that if they knew that he was sick, they wouldn't play with her because they're not supposed to play if the kids are sick. And so she went over there, and they said, "Where's Jason?" And she said, "He's sleeping right now." And they're like, "Oh, okay, well, what was he doing this morning? Did you go to church?" He was sleeping then too, right? No matter what they asked, she just kept saying he was sleeping. Why? Because she didn't want them to know that he was sick. That's deceit. It's hiding the truth. Ben Franklin once said, half a truth is often a great lie. Is your speech honest and clear, or is it deceptive? Listen to these verses. Proverbs 26:28. A lying tongue hates its victims, and a flattering mouth works ruin. Proverbs 26:24 and 25. Whoever hates disguises himself with his lips and harbors deceit in his heart. When he speaks graciously, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. 4:24, put away from you crooked speech. Put devious talk far from you. Proverbs chapter 6. A worthless person, a wicked man, goes about with crooked speech, winks with his eyes, signals with his feet, points with his finger, with perverted heart devises evil, continually sowing discord. Therefore calamity will come upon him suddenly. In a moment he will be broken beyond healing. Proverbs 19:5. A false witness will not go unpunished. He who breathes out lies will not escape. 24:26. Whoever gives an honest answer kisses the lips. 28:23. Whoever rebukes a man will afterward find more favor than he who flatters with his tongue. Do you just see it? All the verses. A lie always finds us out. It's like on a dating app, right? When people put the pictures up and they're 5 years younger or they're like 50 pounds lighter. And I'm like, did you think when you met them in person they wouldn't notice, right? Like at some point, the lie that you have or the picture you put up or whatever you project to the world, people see through that. They get to the bottom. They realize the lies that are there. Truth will set us free. Are my words true or false? Another question to ask before we speak. Is this mine to share or should it be private? This is the idea of confidentiality versus gossip. Should we even share this at all? Should we be talking about this right now? I would say most of the time we should probably share less. Proverbs 11. Whoever belittles his neighbor lacks sense, but a man of understanding remains silent. Whoever goes about slandering reveals secrets, but he who is trustworthy in spirit keeps a thing covered. Proverbs 17:9. Whoever covers an offense seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates close friends. Some of you have experienced that. Proverbs 16:27 and 28. A worthless man plots evil, and his speech is like a scorching fire. A dishonest man spreads strife, and a whisperer separates close friends. Proverbs 20:19. Whoever goes about slandering reveals secrets. Therefore, do not associate with a simple babbler. Babble, 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 babble. These people just talk all the time, right? And the scriptures are clear. We should not slander. We should not gossip. We should not spread information that's not ours. There's a great line that I heard from a mentor one time, and he just says, hey, that's not my story to share. So those people want to know the truth. You know something. You're not sure what you should say. Hey, that's not my story to share. You can go ask them, but it's not mine to tell. It's really difficult. It takes time to gain confidence in somebody. That confidence can go away in an instant when we gossip or share something we shouldn't. I have some people in my life, and they just love the tea, right? It's like the Boston Tea Party every time they get together. They just want to know what's going on, right? What's the latest gossip around the town? They love secrets. They want to be on the inside. And none of us are perfect in this. Like, we all make mistakes. We do. But we should be a sacred space. We should be a safe place for people to share with us. It says the one who's trustworthy keeps a thing covered. It's in contrast to a simple babbler. What's it say? To someone that reveals secrets, someone that spreads strife, a whisperer that separates close friends. Once you let gossip go, it's like a feather in the wind, right? It's not coming back. It's gone. And so pause and just ask yourself before you talk about the wisdom behind what you're going to share. Is it yours to share or should it be kept private? Question number 5. Are my words backed up by action? This is a great one because there's nothing worse than someone talking who has no substance to what they're talking about. They have no business talking about that topic. Do you know how many times my 6-year-old corrects me? She's like, she thinks I was born in a barn yesterday, right? She thinks she knows all. We have people in our lives like this all the time. They have one experience and they think it's gospel truth, right? It's that person who has one semester of a German and thinks they can speak fluently. Right? They made one good meal one time and they're like, I'm a chef, right? it's easy to talk the talk when the reality, like, we're not what we say we are. And is there substance to our words? Does our life back it up? Proverbs 14:23 says, in all toil there is profit, but mere talk tends only to poverty. 20:25, it is a snare to say rashly, it is holy, and to reflect only after making vows. Solomon's just using kind of two regular life examples to show the cognitive dissonance between speech and life, right? If you were talking about a dog, you'd say, all bark, no bite, right? This is somebody who's all talk, no substance. If you're going to talk the talk, you should walk the walk. And see, often this is where hypocrisy shows up in our speech. That's when it's at its worst. Sometimes it's just ignorance, but it's almost always rooted in pride and a delusion that makes us talk like we're awesome or we know what we're talking about when in reality there's no substance there, right? And you meet people like this, right? They talk like they're rich and they're poor as a stray cat, right? You ever meet someone, they read a book and you start asking questions, you realize it's cap right away because you start talking to them, they've never read the book, they don't know anything about it, right? I remember one time I was here at C4. This person doesn't go here anymore. But I was talking to them years ago, and I'm a Laker fan. Tonight's opening night. If you know, you know, right? And so I'm excited for that. But I'm talking to somebody like, I'm a Lakers fan too. And we just made a trade for an all-pro player named Anthony Davis. And so I said, oh my word, how do you feel about the trade we just made for Anthony Davis? And the guy says, we made a trade for Anthony Davis? And I'm like, listen, if that's your response, I know you're lying about being a Laker fan, okay? Or you're a casual of all casuals, right? You outed yourself. And there's people like this in all walks of life. That's the idea in this verse, right? It's easy to say you're a fan. It's different to be a fan. And so anytime you say anything about your life, your accomplishments, what you know, what you're about, you ought to back those words up with your action. It shouldn't be empty talk. We as believers are supposed to be people of substance. And so when we open our mouths, it should be what? Authentic, genuine. Should you be talking about the thing that you're talking about? If you're blind, you probably shouldn't be giving directions from the passenger seat, right? If you've been divorced 3 times, don't write a book about what you learned. Right? We should pause and ask, are my words backed up by my actions? Third category. Broadly, it's about the mouth. It's about the delivery of our words. And so the next couple questions are maybe not so much about what you say, but how it is that you say it. It's amazing how big a deal that is. 6th question, are my words thoughtful or hasty? Are they restrained or are they rash? And if you want a picture of this, picture an archer with a bow, right? When you pull a bow back, there's a moment of steadiness, a moment of tension, a moment of clarity, right? You need a steady hand. It's that moment before you release it, right? And then you let the arrow go. Then we release our words. Let the scripture speak on this. It says it better than I do. Proverbs 26:4. Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest you be like him yourself. Proverbs 10:19, when words are many, sin is not absent, but he who holds his tongue is wise. 21:23, whoever keeps his mouth and his tongue keeps himself out of trouble. 17:27 and 28, whoever restrains his word has knowledge. He who has a cool spirit is a man of understanding. Even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. When he closes his lips, he is deemed intelligent. It's a cheat code for some of you, okay? 29:11, a fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back. 13:3, whoever guards his mouth preserves his life. He who opens his lips wide comes to ruin. 29:20, do you see a man who is hasty in his words? There's more hope for a fool than for him. 15:28, The heart of the righteous ponders how to answer, but the mouth of the wicked pours out evil things. Proverbs 18:13, if one gives an answer before he hears, it is his folly and shame. Talk less. Do I need to say more? Am I allowed to? Are we thoughtful with our words? Or are we hasty? Right? Listen first. Hear both sides. Be patient. Don't jump in. Don't be rash. It seems pretty clear in Proverbs that if we talk less, we sin less. Seventh question. Are my words gentle or harsh? Gentle or harsh? Gentle words, they heal. Sarcastic words, cutting words, harsh words, they can scar us. Proverbs 15, verse 1. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Proverbs 15:4, a gentle tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness in it breaks the spirit. I used to work in customer service at Walmart. I was a store manager over the store for the most part, and so you get that, manager needed to lawn and garden, right? Manager needed to electronics. And you're never going there for the person to say, I just want to call you over because this store is so clean. People are so friendly here. I found everything I wanted. I just want to call you over to say thanks, right? No, they're angry, right? They're like, you know what I want to do on a Friday night? Invent new curse words to cuss this guy out with, right? That's what they're trying to do. And some people walk into that situation and they see the fire of the person and they just pour gasoline on it, right? And it's just explosive. And other people come in and they've got a coolness about them. And it's like the gentle rain of kindness, speaking softly, being gentle, being thoughtful, bringing the temperature down. Like we are to seek understanding. I think the reality is we love to just meet fire with fire. Someone escalates, so we escalate. I play a lot of basketball, and it's amazing how emotions can flare up, right? Hard foul, you start chirping, you start talking trash to somebody, something happens, whatever. And I remember one time, probably more than one time, but some guy got mad at me. I don't remember what I did. I was probably playing too physical or saying something I shouldn't. And he's furious. So after the game, I went over to him, right? And there's kind of this macho, you're about to and by God's grace, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have done so-and-so, whatever thing I did, right? And just whoosh, right? You can just feel the tension come out in that moment, right? And all of a sudden he's going, oh, no, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have, right? And we're able to shake hands and we're back in the game, right? It's this picture of coming. There's plenty of times I didn't do that, by the way, right? I found one good example in my history, and I gave it to you. But this is the idea, right? We should choose gentleness in our words. The scriptures teach us to be the ones that de-escalate. It's another good way to think about this practically, right? Do my words escalate a situation, or do my words de-escalate a situation? Let me give you a few more verses. By the mouth of a fool comes a rod for his back, but the lips of the wise will preserve them. That was 14:3. Proverbs 15:18, a hot-tempered man stirs up strife, right? But he who is slow to anger quiets contention, right? Brings the temperature down. Proverbs 16:32, whoever is slow to anger is better than the mighty, right? Why? Because he can control his emotions. And he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city, right? No one can make you get angry. No one can force you to say a harsh word. That's your choice. And the man or woman that has restraint over his tongue is better than a mighty, mighty warrior. Instead of provoking, we should be peacemakers. What makes you mad? And how do you respond in that moment? When someone says something about you that they shouldn't. Maybe there's a road rage situation. Maybe somebody insults you. Maybe you feel deeply wronged. Maybe you made a mistake and you're embarrassed. Maybe you've got annoying siblings or difficult parents or the worst coworkers in Lancaster County, right? Sometimes it's the people we know best that it's hardest to live this out with. whoever it's with, wherever it's with, does gentleness pour out of us, right? Is that our default, or do we come in with harsh language? It's a great test for each of us, for the maturity of the believer. Question number 8. Do my words promote vengeance or forgiveness? This is the idea of retaliation versus grace. Proverbs 24, 28 and 29 says, be not a witness against your neighbor without cause. Do not deceive with your lips. Do not say, I will do to him as he has done to me. I will pay the man back for what he has done. Proverbs 20, 22. Do not say, I will repay evil. Wait for the Lord and he will deliver you. Proverbs 17:9, whoever covers an offense seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates close friends. There is public justice that exists according to the law, but the scriptures never condone private revenge in word or in deed. And in our speech, there are lots of ways for us to tear people down, to exact revenge, to get even in what we say back to them. But our response with our words is based, right, in our faith in a God who will ultimately pay them back, either in rewards or in punishment. Because the reality is the wrong that's done to you or I as children of God is really a wrong done against God himself. And so anytime we open our mouth and vengeance wants to spew out, the Proverbs remind us that vengeance doesn't belong to us. Vengeance belongs to God, a God who is all-knowing, a God who is impartial, a God who is truly just, not one that's blinded like we can be at times by anger or lust or prejudice. He is good. I'm not the ultimate judge. You're not the ultimate judge. God is the true judge. And so instead of letting out this temporary speech of vengeance, no. We should offer words of lasting forgiveness. Our words should be seasoned with grace. So we've looked a little bit at the source of our words, some of the content of our words, some of the delivery of our words. In our last couple minutes, I want to give us our final two, which are about the impact, about the result of our words. Because our words always produce something. Words carry with them an effect. And if we can think first about the effect of our words, the result of our words, the impact of our words, then we can have wise speech that builds up rather than tears down. And so our ninth question is this: do my words heal or wound? This is just our moment to think practically. Are our words helpful or are our words harmful? Do they tear down or do they build up? Are we edifying people when we talk? Words destroy quickly. I remember in 2018, there was a wildfire that started in California because a guy's pulling a trailer and the tire pops and the metal rim starts scraping on the asphalt, just some sparks, kicking off into the grass. And in a matter of minutes, it had turned into a wildfire that ended up costing 229,000 acres, taking 1,000 homes and killing 8 people. Just from a few small sparks. We know fire destroys. We know hard work builds up. It's the same with our words. Let me give you a few more. I know we're throwing a lot of Proverbs, but this is 16% of the book. I'm not giving it all to you. The book's all about language and speech. He says this, 12:18, there is one whose rash words are like sword thrusts, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. 22:11, he who loves purity of heart and whose speech is gracious will have even the king as his friend. Proverbs 12:25, anxiety in a man's heart weighs him down, but a good word makes him glad. 15:23, to make an apt answer is a joy to a man, and a word in season how good it is. 15:30, the light of the eyes rejoices the heart, and good news refreshes the bones. 16:24 says, gracious words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul, health to the body. And this is just a passage worth reading. It says in Proverbs 26, for lack of wood, the fire goes out, and where there is no whisperer, quarreling ceases. As charcoal to hot embers and wood to fire, catch this, so is a quarrelsome man for kindling strife. The words of a whisperer are like delicious morsels. They go down to the inner parts of the body. Like the glaze covering an earthen vessel are fervent lips with an evil heart. Whoever hates disguises himself with his lips and harbors deceit in his heart. When he speaks graciously, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. Though his hatred be covered with deception, his wickedness will be exposed in the assembly. Just the contrast between healing and destruction. Sometimes people ask my wife and I, what's your simplest advice for getting married? And my wife always just says 2 words. She says, be kind. Be kind. And it's so simple, but really that's what this is boiling down to. Words that are kind, words that refresh, words that edify. Anytime we talk, are we helping to flourish somebody? Or like fire, are we burning them down to the roots? Are we healing or are we wounding? And our last question tonight. Do my words lead to life or lead to death? As we've seen all throughout the entirety of the Proverbs, the result of wisdom is life. The result of the path of foolishness is death, and it's no different for our speech. He says clearly in 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Do we believe that? Those who love it will eat of its fruits. 20:15, there is gold and abundance of costly stones, but the lips of knowledge are a precious jewel. 12:19, truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. 18:4, the words of a man's mouth are deep waters. The fountain of wisdom is a bubbling brook. 25:11, a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in a setting of silver. And 31 and 32, chapter 10, the mouth of the righteous brings forth wisdom, but the perverse tongue will be cut off. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked what is perverse. Wise words here are depicted as life-giving, as wealth, as costly, as long-lasting, while foolish words are depicted, right, as cheap, as poverty, as fleeting, as death. Think about all the ways that evil speech promotes death. Man, evil speech will destroy a friendship. Evil speech can blaspheme God. Evil speech will model the great deceiver, Satan. Evil speech puffs up. Evil speech slanders. Evil speech wounds. Evil speech can undo great things that have been done. It can reinforce all types of wickedness. But you and I, by God's grace in all that we do, we should promote life. Remember where we started? 4:23 to 27. It starts this way. Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flows the springs of life. May the springs of our heart be so pure that all the words that flow out of us would bring life to those who hear. And so as we close, my hope, my prayer, I hope your prayer, is that our words might actually be used to reflect our God, to bring people to Him. Our words should be a testimony to Jesus. Our words should point people to our Savior. But if we curse and we lie, if we slander and we manipulate, if we explode in anger, if we speak vengefully, if we gossip, we are forfeiting our testimony. And our words can cost us our platform to tell people about Jesus. And that is a great tragedy. Because our words should speak life to all who hear. They should speak of the offer of grace and forgiveness. It should speak of Jesus, who is the way, the truth, and the life. And so as I invite the band back up, I'm going to throw these 10 questions up. I'm going to read through them quickly, and I'm going to give us a minute just to pray that the Lord would work in us if any of these are areas we should work on. Are my words honoring or dishonoring to God? Do my words flow from humility or pride? Are my words true or false? Is this mine to share or should it be kept private? Are my words backed up by action? Are my words thoughtful or hasty? Are my words gentle or harsh? Do my words promote vengeance or forgiveness? Do my words heal or wound? Do my words lead to life or lead to death? I want to encourage you, just take 30 seconds right now and just pray that the Lord would help us to grow in our speech for his honor and his glory.